Hey guys, my name is Ladin, and I'm going to be talking today about technology transfer, or how to bring ideas into the market and potentially make boatloads of money and bring lots of value to the world. Now, I did this presentation a few days ago, and I really enjoyed making it. And as far as I could tell, I didn't see anything like this else on the internet, on YouTube. So I decided to make a video about it. So, technology transfer. Technology transfer is the process of transferring technologies among institutions to ensure that developments are accessible to a wider range of users who develop the technology into new products. So, this is maybe you have an idea or a technology and you bring it to a wider audience, be it the public at large, or a company, institution, or maybe just a partner or something like this, in order to develop it, just as the definition says. Now, first of all, before you start anything, you have to assess the project. You have to see whether it is valuable or not, if it's worth it to invest time and money into the project in order to get some value out of it as well. So the technology needs to be assessed whether it's feasible to be part of a technology transfer. Now, of course, there's some companies that are definitely would be worth, starting out and everything like this, like for example Google or something like this. But I don't know, just a silly example, if you're going to make a company making broken glass bottles, then that's probably not very useful. So you have to see where on that scale you are actually. Now, I really like the technology readiness levels that have been implemented by NASA. So the technology readiness levels that are in NASA are basically go from 1 to 9, and 1 being the lowest. It's actually just the basic principles are reported, and the 9 being the system's gone through many successful operations. It's been tested, it's been used, it's pretty much a done deal. And it goes anywhere from in between, from the 1 to 9. 3 is characteristic proof of concept. 6 is prototype demonstration, a relevant environment. So you can kind of guess where, you can kind of see where everything else goes along that. And this is for NASA, so it is kind of like centered more on the NASA environment, I guess, and actually like developing, I guess, devices that are going to be in space. So it's a little bit centered around that, but I don't know exactly what it would be if you're doing some software, for example, but it could be quite different. Now, research tends to focus on technology readiness levels 1 to 3. This is the university. Pretty much the university levels. This is like the basic science. This is the pure science and learning for learning's sake. They don't usually try to apply things, to actual real world stuff. But the readiness for production tends to focus on technology readiness level 6 or 7 or higher. So these are the companies. These are the actual things that are, or entities that are trying to make money. So bridging technology readiness 3 to 6 is quite difficult, actually. This is kind of like the dead zone, the valley of death that many companies have a very difficult time bridging, because you're taking a technology that's not really been demonstrated, it's unproven, and trying to prove it. And this is quite difficult. It's very risky, and as soon as you prove it, then many other companies can come in and just be like, oh, this is a good idea, we're going to do the same thing, but they haven't put in that same time at the beginning. Now, you have to do a form of technology forecasting. So you try to predict the future using characteristics of the technological machine, procedure, or techniques. And you have to do a cost-benefit analysis in a systematic way to find the strengths and the weaknesses that satisfy the requirements for a business. And basically you want to see, okay, what's the cost and what's the benefit? How much time and energy and money am I going to have to put into this? And what kind of, I guess really the real benefit is money that would come out. What's the real benefit that would come out? And what's the value of this technology? Now, there's many different methods that are used for this. Kind of the one that's most focused on is the Delphi method, and this is a method forecast by analogy, or this is a method that's kind of talks about you get a bunch of experts together, and you have an open forum, and every expert says their opinion and their projections and everything like this, and every expert hears what the previous expert has said. So in this way, they can also readjust what they had previously said, maybe to match, or maybe they bring up a different point or something like that they didn't have thought about. And in this way, it goes around even a few times. So the same person might speak a few times, and in this way, it is thought that the idea or the truth converges, and the experts converge on one answer, and this is probably the truth. Of course, there's also forecast by analogy, which is assuming that this is similar to another product. So maybe if I would be making, I don't know, let's talk about apps. If I'm making some kind of Airbnb app, I could be like, oh, this is just like Airbnb, but for, I don't know, bicycles or something like this. So you could maybe map the curves, the growth curves of this. And of course, the growth curves and extrapolation, you can say, okay, well, most businesses end up like this. They have a kind of a hockey stick curve where they grow really fast. They're slow in the beginning and they grow really fast, and then they slow down later as well. And so you can use extrapolation. Basically, it's just guesswork. It's absolutely guesswork. And to get an accurate representation of this, you have to do many different methods. Many times, many different methods are combined to see what exactly the forecast is for technology. Now, a very good way to do this is the business model canvas. This is kind of laid out in the lean startup, which I'll talk about later. But essentially, if you have an idea, if you have a technology, if you have anything, this is the place to start. It's a one-page thing. Literally, I mean, the text is a little bit small, but you can see more or less what's required. And if you can't fill this out in a half hour, then you're doing it wrong. But this is essentially a really, really hyper-speed business plan, and this will tell you at a glance whether you have a product, who your customers are, your relationship with them, your value proposition, all this kind of stuff, to see where you are exactly. And if you have something like this, then you can definitely easier pitch to other people, be it investors or family or whatever. But we'll talk about this later. What happened? Okay. So my own experience with this, I actually did my bachelor's thesis with my group on a mechanical leech at the University of Utah, and leeches are actually, medieval instruments. Like doctors would look at a patient and be like, oh, you have too much blood. Obviously, that's why you're sick, so we need to get the blood out of you, right? So they would put a bunch of leeches on you, and that would make you better. Luckily, we've gone past that, and we've grown in terms of our scientific knowledge and medical knowledge, and so we don't do that. But actually, believe it or not, leeches are still used in medicine and even surgery, and they're used in post-surgical treatments to basically relieve venous congestion. So what this means is if you have a skin graft, if they reattach some skin, or if they reattach an ear or a finger or something like that, the blood vessels are severed, so blood can go in, but it can't come out. There's no blood vessels already built up. So this basically, they use actual leeches, like the slimy leeches that you see, to pull out blood, and in this way it brings fresh oxygenated blood back into the wound, and then within a few days the body makes new blood vessels and is able to heal itself. So it's actually still used, and obviously there's a lot of drawbacks on this, but we entered into the bench to bedside competition and won $10,000 worth of prize money. And if you remember the technology readiness levels, we were about technology readiness level number 5, but we couldn't pass. As you heard before, this is kind of the valley of death. We need to get to technology readiness level 7 in order to really be commercially viable. Approval by the FDA would have cost at least $1 million, and so we looked around. Nobody had $1 million, so we had to put this on pause. And the estimated value of the device technology is $10 to $50 million. But it's a great thing, and it could bring a lot of value to people. So we did this exact same thing. This kind of value, the cost benefit on this, to see what the cost and what the benefits are. So obviously the cost would be at least $1 million, $1 million to $5 million, but the value could be $10 to $50 million, which is quite unfortunate that we couldn't get this passed. But maybe later. So getting technology to market. Money, where to get it. This is probably the biggest and hardest thing, is money. You need money more or less to get anything started. Either to actually build the actual physical devices, maybe if you're doing some kind of physical device, or maybe to pay the software developers if you're doing some kind of software, anything like this. There's many different ways to do it. Licensing, startup, corporate spin-off. These are kind of the main ways that I discovered. So licensing is an authorization by the licensor to use the licensed material by the licensee. Essentially, this is an agreement by a company to rent out your idea. So, for example, you have a patent. If you filed a patent on a device or some process, and you say, I own this. And what the license is okay, you own this, but you're renting it out to a company, and they're going to do everything else with it. So, for example, this is almost like if you're a landlord and you rent out a space to a restaurant. The restaurant is actually doing the business, and you're just a landlord renting it out. There's a lot of benefits in this. It's very easy. Usually you get an advance in royalty fees. You might also get a yearly minimum royalty or performance requirement. Insurance, you might also get insurance covering the inventor. You have a right to audit, so if the numbers don't look right, you could be like, hey, I think you guys made more money, and so you can always look at their numbers. Generally, this is a safe way to do it, and it's very, very easy. It's probably the easiest way to get technology out to market, because you have the idea and you give it to the experts, the people who are professionals, right, at doing what they need to do, and they do everything. The payout is less. Generally, I think I've heard anywhere from 3 to 8% is of profits is what you earn as the licensee. Licensor, as a licensor. So it's definitely much less, but it's definitely the least amount of work. Now, a great resource you need to look at is Stephen Key. If you're interested in this, he wrote a book called One Simple Idea. He's licensed dozens of ideas, including a spin label thing on bottles. So, for example, you have 2 layers on a bottle, and then you spin it, and it reveals another part, which is like more writing. So in this way, you can get even more writing on bottles. So this is especially useful for medicine, where you might want a lot of writing on it and to explain and everything like this. So yeah, he developed this, and he patented it, and I mean he licensed it out. One of the most interesting, I guess, versions or licensed things that he did was the Michael Jordan wall ball, and so he was just playing basketball on the wall, and he's like, this is boring, and how could this be more fun? And he just thought, oh, it'd be cool if it was cut out in the shape of Michael Jordan and had Michael Jordan's picture on it. So he went to a company that had the rights to use Michael Jordan's picture, and they were able to make this, and they made the Michael Jordan wall ball, and over 10 years it made him about $300,000 in licensing fees, and this was huge. So it could really be that simple. I mean, it took him literally a few dozen hours of work, and he's been able to get over $300,000 worth of work, or $300,000 worth of stuff with this. So this is definitely a good way to go if I guess you're lazy, or if you have other things to do and want to focus on other things and just kind of give off the idea. Also, there's corporate spin-offs. So spin-offs are divisions of a company or organization that become independent businesses with assets, employees, intellectual property, technology, or existing products that are taken from the parent company. This is more or less if you're already inside of a company and you have an idea, or the company has had an idea. It just kind of like mitosis. It just kind of splits up into a separate cell. And this is done to kind of isolate the different growth factors or the properties of the company. So sometimes a spin-off may have higher valuation or higher rate of growth, and sometimes lower. So the company wants to split off in order to get higher valuation multiples. Basically, how much the company is worth. There's a lot of examples of this. Obviously, Fairchild Semiconductor, which was huge. It was basically one of the founders of semiconductors. It was the Traders 8 kind of broke off from I believe it was William Shockley who won the Nobel Prize for the transistor, the basic building block of computers, and they formed Fairchild Semiconductors, and this just kind of started the culture of corporate spin-offs and collaboration and all this kind of stuff in the Silicon Valley, which we do see today. And Fairchild Semiconductor later led to AMD, Intel, Intersil, and reconstructed National Semiconductor. So this might not apply to everybody, but if you're already in a company, then this might apply to you. Maybe even go into the company and pitch the idea. Now also there's the startup. Startup is a company, partnership, or temporary organization designed to search for a reputable and scalable business model. This is kind of very, very sexy, very hip right now, and everybody wants to do it. So I'm going to talk about this. This is probably the one that takes the most time and the most energy and the most money. This becomes your child for a number of years. And again, we're talking about money, so you need to get either venture capital or private funds. So if we get into this, venture capital is financial capital provided to startup companies, and it earns money by owning equity in the companies that it invests in. So what this means is the company says, okay, we like your idea, we like where you're going, we like your business so far. So of course you decided to start a business, start a startup, and maybe you have some sales, but you're just starting out. You're starting up, right? And the company, a venture capital company, sees this and is like, okay, we see that you need more money to grow, and we want you to grow, and so we'll give you, for example, $100,000 for 20% of 20% of the value of your company. And so what this means is, in this particular example, they value the company at $500,000, they value the company at $500,000. But this can get so this is the dream of everybody, because you want the venture capitalist to back you, because it means lots of money and a big boost in reputation and everything like this. But before that, you need angel investing. These are either people or companies that give you money at the very, very beginning, like especially before you started, and they just see some big potential. But again, this is very expensive, because as I said, they give you $100,000 for 20% share of the company. Well, usually they only do this if they see the company being worth millions and millions of dollars. So this ends up being much, much more expensive for you, because you get the money, you get the $100,000 to grow your company, but the later on, let's say in 5 to 10 years, or in 5 to 7 year holding period, the company has already the angel investor, the venture capital firm, owns millions of dollars worth of value in this company. And in the beginning, 5 to 7 years ago, they only give you $100,000. So, for example, in banking, if you keep your money in like a CD or something like this, or I don't know, just invest in the stock market. So you like to get about 10% return on interest. That's nice. That's you're doing solid if you get that. But these guys, the angel investing, they're looking to get 20 to 30 times return over a 5 to 7 year holding period. Now, this is because they have bigger risk. Your company might go through and everything like this. But this is the dream of everybody. 600,000 businesses start in the U.S. annually. Only 300 get VC backing. So this is 99.95% do not get VC. So it's kind of a rare thing, and you shouldn't place your hopes on it. My opinion would be organic growth would be better. And there's kind of a startup financing cycle, and you got to get things off the ground. So venture capital, super sexy, everybody's doing it. And this is the business, this is the billions that everybody's making in Silicon Valley. For example, Uber raised $285 million, which put it at a $3.5 billion valuation. Snapchat, I found a venture capital firm to invest $20 million with a lofty $10 billion valuation, which is just insane for me, because BMW, the car company, is valued at $62 billion. So, I mean, this is really, it's like, it's in the same order of magnitude as all these other things. And these are companies that have not existed for more than 5 years, and so I kind of showed a picture of how much all this money looks like, because this is the stuff that gets everybody excited. This is the thing that's really popular right now in Silicon Valley, and so that's what $10,000 looks like. That's what $1 million looks like. And actually, I've seen $1 million in person. We went to the Treasury in Salt Lake City, and there's a guard unloading a truck full of money, and he just stacked up a bunch of $100 bills, and he's like, wow, this is $1 million. Of course, I was behind bulletproof glass, so I couldn't really grab it and run, but it's very, very cool. And that's pretty much what it looks like, and that's what $1 billion looks like as well. And if you guys are interested in this, if you really like billions of dollars, and I highly recommend Startup Podcast. Now, you guys don't know me, but I'm really into podcasts. Actually, I have a podcast called Travel Wisdom, which I'll plug at the end as well. But generally, I listen to tons and tons of podcasts. I listen to anywhere from 20 to 40 hours of podcasts per week, and this is one of my favorites. It's called Startup Podcast. It's literally just started a few months ago, and Alex Bloomberg from the NPR Planet Money made his own show about doing a business startup. They're trying to get a media company, Gimlet Media, to get quality content in the internet age, so they're going to be basically making stories and just all kind of great reporting, and they're going through this process of going through the startup and getting money and all this, and it's amazing because it's just flying. I mean, of course they have the magic of editing right now, but on they're on the iTunes top 100, but by episode 5 they've received $300,000 in investor money, and then by episode 7 they've received $1 million. And so this is absolutely insane, how much money they were able to get to receive to get this idea off the ground. And I mean, with this, for the quality content, that costs money, right? So you're gonna have to have editors, journalists, speakers, all this kind of stuff. You're gonna have to do great interviews, come up with good stories, and this is all expensive. You're gonna have to pay people, right? So this $1 million is gonna help pay for that. But it's absolutely amazing, the kind of money that's being thrown around right now. But it's also kind of, I would guess, kind of a bubble, and it's not gonna last forever. So get in on it right now. So as I said, the venture capital is kind of the expensive way to do it, because in the end, somebody else controls your company. So if you could use private funds, why not use the money that doesn't make you give up control of your company? And great way to do this is, bank funding, rich uncle or just people that are in the area, and do it like this. So first of all, bank funding. Bank funding is probably the best way, the safest way. And sorry, this seems to be cut off a little bit, but bank funding can get you funding if you have revenues. Now, if you just have an idea, for example, this Gimlet Media that I just mentioned for the startup podcast, they don't have revenue, they don't have a business model, they don't have all this kind of stuff. But if you do have revenue, if you have already sold some stuff and you have sold it for some amount of time, maybe a year or two, then the bank can look at that and be like, okay, well, we can expect you to earn the same amount or maybe grow or something like this, so we'll give you a loan on some small percentage of that revenue. Now, this is kind of Germany-centered because I am in Germany after all, but the KfW, Kreditanstalt für Wiederaufbau, Reconstruction Credit Institute, is kind of the thing over here. I know there's lots of other types of banks like this, basically kind of programs to help start businesses and stuff like this. For example, I know my brother, he got some kind of deal. He just got a business. He just took over a business, and this kind of institution made it so he didn't have to pay. So if you're interested, you can look into this. But generally, it's more or less if you already have revenues. And in this particular instance, the KfW covers 80% of the cost, and 20%, the remaining 20%, your own bank has to cover. So you still have to deal with your bank, and I think that's the ones that are the ones that say yes or no, and then KfW just says, agrees with them. And this has a benefit because it has less than 2% interest per year. So it's a very, very cheap way to do things. So it's instead of the 10 to 20 times, as I said with the angel investing, that's a lot. I mean, if you think about that in percentage, 10 to 20 times, that's 1,000 to 2,000%, and here's 2%. So it's literally 1,000 times less expensive to do this. So definitely, if you can do this, definitely do it. I know these guys also have a 100 euro grant for qualified entrepreneurs. Obviously you have to be qualified for it, and you have to maybe jump through a bunch of hoops, but still $4,500 or 4,500 euros for free, not bad. And they have 100,000, 500,000, 10 million euro loans, and basically on their own ruling, and you have to qualify for it, but definitely probably the cheapest way to do it. Unless, of course, you have a rich uncle. So can you convince a rich friend to support your cause? Maybe a lot of people have had a family. I've had friends that have started companies, and they just need to grow. It's been going good for a year, and it's a proven thing, and they're managing it well, and they just need to buy some equipment, for example, to speed things up, and their family lends them $10,000-$30,000 or something like this, and so there may be more money than you think. People might have more money, especially if you've been doing well. If you have a little bit of track record, a year or two, then they might support your cause and give you money. And this also has the added benefit that people know the people for example, friends and family, they know you best, and they know your drive and determination, and they might be the easiest to convince to get money for your startup. Because maybe a bank doesn't know you personally, and okay, maybe the business is not 100% solid, but you'll figure it out. And this is kind of a joke, is target old people, they have money. So, but definitely like old people, grandmas, grandfathers, they tend to have more money they've accumulated over their life, and especially if you're a grandson or granddaughter, then they would love to help you out, and especially if they see, hey, I've known him for however many years you've been alive, and I know you're a hardworking person, dedicated, and all this kind of stuff, and so yeah, it might be easier than you think. Also, crowdsource everything. It's a great way to do it. Here's kind of a video.
My name is Ambika Bang, and I'm the CEO of Bikanta, where we are developing nanodiamonds.
It's very, very interesting
that
stuff.
redefine what can be done with medical imaging. The killer in cancer is metastases. The earlier we can detect those cells, the better it is for the patient's prognosis. Unfortunately, today there are limitations with the technology, particularly in optical imaging, with regards to signal loss, toxicity, or high background issues. So what we are doing at Bikanta is solving those problems using nanodiamonds. Nanodiamonds are microscopic diamond dust. What makes them fluorescent are these defects that have been created within the carbon grid. The way we create these color centers within the diamond structure is we first bombard them with a high energy source that kicks out a carbon. We then bake them in extreme temperatures, and that causes a vacancy to migrate and settle near a nitrogen, creating this color center that then gives us the ability to image them. Raw diamonds are tricky.
So interesting stuff. You see how crowdsource funding is very, very popular, and you may have heard, this is a great video. Maybe pause it on the wrong side. This pretty girl doesn't look as pretty anymore. But anyways, you can do many types of crowdfunding, and this is kind of an extension of this rich uncle idea, because many times your friends and family are the ones that donate the most, but you can also get perfect strangers, to crowdfund to basically support your idea. So there's a few ways to do it. You can do traditional crowdsource funding like Kickstarter and start selling products to get a revenue. The thing is, with this is something that you generally have a product for. So I have a friend that is starting a company called Atinga Footwear, basically a used tire. They take used tires and they craft it into artisan shoes. It's absolutely amazing. You have to check it out. Atinga Footwear, Atinga Project, and stuff like this. But the thing is, they for example have a product. They have shoes, right? So if you have something to give away, then you can. And a lot of times you have to, lure in the people with this kind of stuff. So, for example, they had a thing on this particular example, the Tinga project. If you donated, for example, $60 or $30 or something like this, then you'd get a free pair of shoes. And then if you donated $200, then you'd get like 6 pairs of shoes or something like this. And if you donated $2,000, then you'd get a flight to Rwanda or something like this. So generally, if you do earn money, you have to give it back, and it's not free money. But this could be a good way to kickstart your revenue. And I would say, from what I've seen, the average earned is about $10,000, and you have to give away products with this money. So it's not all $10,000 in your stuff that you get to grow with. You do have to give some of it back in terms of products. And so this is great. Like I said, if you have a actual product. But you can also use, for example, this example that I just showed. They don't really have a product. They can't be like, oh, you get 7 nanodiamonds if you fund us. So they use something like AngelList, Circle Up, Founders Club, or Our Crowd, and they actually are selling shares of their company, similar to a crowd or a venture capital, like we mentioned before, or an angel investor. But this is usually at much lower rates, because you just get passionate people, and they're investing much less amounts of money. So instead of investing, $100,000 or even $10,000, maybe they only invest $100 or something like this. But then they get shares of the company. So just like a publicly traded stock, they get shares of the company. And the thing is with this, it's quite difficult to do, and it takes a lot of energy. For example, I know the Tinga project, they put a lot of energy into it, and it took a lot of time. It took some months, and you have to get out on all channels. You have to get out on Facebook. You have to have a lot of friends. Hopefully you're a likable person and you have a lot of friends, and get in the newspaper, get in TV, and just pitch it as much as you can. And in this way, you can spread the word and get outside of your friends and family, get outside of the circle. So this is a little bit better, and especially if you can do the Kickstarter. I mean, the people that buy your stuff, they have no no say in the company, but it's a great way to get started with some revenues. And for example, the Atinga project, I mean, they got something over $13,000, and that's great. I mean, that's perfect for what they needed to get started and to show that there was a market for it. So this is also a good way to show that there's a market for it. Now, okay, hopefully you've done the last 2 steps and you have money secured. Now what? Or this is kind of more or less a love affair with The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. This was a book, great book, published in 2011. And I had no idea that it's such a new book, but it's basically become the Bible of all the people, all the bigwigs in Silicon Valley. So first of all, you need a minimum viable product. This is the product with the highest return on investment versus risk. There's core features and no more. Basically saying, this is what I have to offer. Do you guys accept it? So in this idea is the donut, like just the normal donut. Is this good? Will people like it? Will people buy it? And then later, once you kind of figure it out, maybe you can be like, oh, sprinkles. People like sprinkles, but the sprinkles are not essential to the idea of the donut, right? And same thing with the Atinga project. Let's go back to the idea of the shoes. The shoes, you just get out a basic pair of shoes, and then later you can add some decorations and make it really, really nice. But just, you have to see first of all if people would be up for it. And so you have to do the MVP, minimum viable product, as soon as you can afford to. Now I have put it in this I don't know, this far along. Maybe for some businesses or ideas it should be at the very beginning, even before the funding round. This is probably for stuff like software, or just something. If it's relatively cheap to do it, then you should do it right away. But maybe the Nano Diamonds, needs much more money to get started, and so they can't afford to do it right away. But do it as soon as you can afford to, and you have to test to see if there is a market. And because early adopters are the ones that are going to be more forgiving, more likely to give feedback, and able to grasp product vision. And so they're the ones that you want on board, and they're honestly the customers in the beginning, and they can be incredibly helpful, incredibly helpful. So listen to them. So a great story about this is Zappos founder Nick Swinburne. He wanted to test the hypothesis that people would want to buy shoes online. So instead of buying hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue, or of a product, of inventory of shoes, and renting out a warehouse and putting all these systems in place, he literally just set up a website, and sold shoes, and didn't have anything. And if somebody bought a shoe, then he would just go down to the local store and just buy the shoe and send it out. And even if it cost him, even if he lost money on every shoe, after a few hundred, let's say, then he knew, like, hey, there's a demand. I've built a following. People are interested in this, and I can make the bigger jump into it. So it's almost like testing the ice before you go walk out onto it, right? You want to make sure that the ice is there and it's not too thin, and that it can support your body weight. So the body weight maybe being inventory and warehouse space, and basically getting yourself into potentially a lot of problems if things don't work out. So Swinburne was very smart in this, and deduced that customer demand was present, and Zappos eventually grew it to $1 billion business based on the model of selling shoes online, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, this is a great success story. Obviously not everything's going to be like this, but it's a great way to look at things. I don't know why that happens. Hopefully to make you hungry. So the main idea is build, measure, learn. And as a scientist, I'm a scientist, and you test, hypothesize, go back, reiterate, do all this kind of stuff, and you need to always be improving. And this quote by Vladimir Lenin, it just always comes to me. It says, "Учиться, учиться и еще раз учиться." And it basically means study, and then again study, or learn, and then again learn. So if you think you're done learning, you're wrong. You're not done learning. You have just started, and so you need to always iterate. Always boom, 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 going through and seeing if it works. Does it work? Okay, keep it. Doesn't work? Okay, kick it out and go again. And always be improving. So emphasize this lean startup emphasizes speed as a critical ingredient to product development. A team or company's effectiveness is determined by its ability to iterate. That's what it should say. Quickly build a minimum viable product of the idea, measure its effectiveness in the product, and learn from that experiment. And honestly, if you can do it faster, then you're better off, because the ones who test 100 ideas versus the ones who test one idea, maybe only 3% work. Maybe only 3% are the incredibly great ideas. Maybe the others are just okay ideas. And if you put the same amount of time and energy into a product or an idea, why not put it into the really good ideas instead of the so-so ideas, right? So A/B testing is another way or a kind of a way to be learning. A/B testing is very, very popular in software, and you basically have a randomized experiment with two variants, A and B, which are the control and treatments of the controlled experiment. So this way you can constantly be improving your product, and Google and online companies love doing this kind of stuff. And so they have maybe two different layouts or two different pictures or two different whatever, and they see whichever ones has the higher percentage. So just like in the picture, A has 32%, which is the green one, and then blue one has 36%. So obviously you're going to keep the one that's 36%. And you can also you can also segment it down. For example, men and women, maybe men like the green one more and women like the blue one more, for example. And so maybe even segment it even further. And so, for example, I don't know, if they know that you have a race car, for example, then you're 100% are going to go for blue, for example. I don't know, but Google's all about this, and they've been a great ideal in how you can do this and how it really works. There's many companies, many tools you can use, online tools like Petri, WebTrends, and other for emails and websites. And then also you can use Userlytics and user testing to actually see real people go onto your website. So it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what kind of idea you're going to have, you need to have a website. And I would argue you need to have a video as well. The video is going to suck people in, and it's really going to get people excited. And so it's really good to have just people randomly look at it, and just maybe they don't have any experience with it, and they can give you honest opinions about it. So I write here, a good website is important even for cardboard box companies. It doesn't matter who you are. Nowadays you need a website and a video, I would say as well. Just get that through your head. One more time I'm going to say it. So yeah, and this is great. So I mean, for example, this might even be a great way to make money. I mean, you just go to, for example, a random shampoo website, and you're just like, oh, okay, well, this seems to be a shampoo website, and okay, it seems to be organic maybe, and you just look through it and try to figure it out. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into, but it can give you like honest feedback for a person just stumbling onto it, and this can be excellent feedback. So yeah. Also, again, you need to learn to pivot, and this goes along with the previous kind of ideas. It's just it's a structured course correction designed to test a new fundamental hypothesis about the product, strategy, and engine of growth. That's kind of a fancy way to say, try something. If it's not working, then change what you tried, or just figure out what it is that, for example, customers really want, and just change your business model or your product to what the customers really want. And a great example of this is Groupon. And Groupon started as an online activism platform called The Point, and then it didn't receive any traction almost. And so the founders opened a WordPress blog and opened their first coupon promotion for a pizzeria located in the building lobby. They said, okay, do you want some kind of coupon for this? And they only received 20 redemptions, but they found out that their idea was valid. That's all you really need, 20 redemptions, and then people see that people liked it, people enjoyed it, and everything like this. So they started the company, Groupon. 3 years later, Groupon will grow into $1 billion business. This is an example of, actually, as of yet, 2014, November 2014, this is one of the fastest growing businesses, like literally, like this says, from zero to $1 billion business in 3 years, which is just unprecedented, unbelievable. And so if you have a good idea, I mean, there's no reason that this couldn't be you, which kind of makes me think as well, like, man, why aren't I doing something? I have lots of good ideas. Why can't I do something like this? But you just have to be able to pivot, and they're going to have to keep this idea of pivoting as well. Groupon, for example, they're going to have to be like, oh, okay, well, people maybe have gotten tired of it or something like this. Maybe it was just an interesting thing, but people, for example, want this more or something like this. So they're going to have to constantly be pivoting, especially, I guess, in this high-tech stuff. And now here is a video that kind of explains what I was talking about, and hopefully you enjoy it. And then at the end, this is the end of the presentation.
Universities, hospitals, and research centers conduct a lot of research that generates groundbreaking inventions that not only save lives, but improve the way we live, work, and play on a daily basis. Technology transfer plays a central role in bringing these ideas from the lab to the market. Hi, I'm Jane Muir, a technology transfer professional and a member of the Association of University Technology Managers, or AUTM. We're the people who work to transfer the discoveries developed at universities and research centers to companies that can turn them into products and services that benefit society. This process is called technology transfer. Government and private organizations provide funding that supports critical research from which new discoveries are created. Technology transfer professionals work to protect these discoveries and create partnerships to help these discoveries become new products. This sounds simple, but there are many steps involved in taking an idea and turning it into a product. There are many challenges. Some ideas make it, some don't. Sometimes an idea is transferred to an existing company, and sometimes it inspires the creation of a brand new company. These companies turn these ideas into products that have a huge impact on improving lives, creating jobs, and supporting new research discoveries. To learn more about the AUTM Better World project and the many ways that technology transfer is making the world a better place in your community, visit AUTM at autumn.net.
So guys, I hope you liked the presentation. This has been a lot of fun for me, and I really like this topic, and I've as I said, I've had experience going between the different technology readiness levels and all this, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I want to be a part of it. Reach out to me if you found this interesting or anything like this. Hopefully let me know if you like this kind of stuff. If you like that, I can do more presentations like this. I also, if you find my voice very soothing and sexy, ooh yeah, then I also actually have a podcast. It's called Travel Wisdom Podcast. I highly recommend it, obviously. I talk about traveling. I have been to over 80 countries, and it's really taught me a lot. And in this show, I kind of want to show that traveling makes you a wiser person. So it teaches you how to be spontaneous, teaches you how to open up to the world, how to make new friends, how to network, how to just be open to the new opportunities that are there. And I think these are very, very good traits, very good characteristics that can help you out later in life. So Travel Wisdom Podcast, if you want to become wiser through travel. Thank you so much, guys.